been almost a year since the deadliest wildfires in Hawaii's history. More than 100 people died as the fires leveled the historic town of Lahaina. Almost immediately following the disaster, local officials faced intense scrutiny over their response. Hawaii's Attorney General has been looking into exactly what happened, and the first set of findings from that investigation was released today. National correspondent Dan Grossman was on the ground right after those fires happened and has this report.
Everyone is accountable. So why isn't our government agency being accountable?
Through a broken Zoom connection, Rebecca Lauricella explains how she still feels broken after losing her home to the Lahaina fire last August. On Wednesday, Hawaii's Attorney General's office released its first major report on the fire in conjunction with the Fire Safety Research Institute. The report lays out the timeline of the fire and the factors that made it so deadly, including high winds and low humidity, among other factors. It also does not blame first responders, a common critique among locals after the fire.
We are grossly understaffed, undertrained, under-equipped.
Rebecca, a former fire marshal and former employee for Maui's Emergency Management Agency, knows the inner workings of how the response came together. She also knows the pain of what she says are some of its shortcomings.
There's nothing that could have prepared the highest level of training and preparation for what I saw.
Less than a year after the fire, Lauricella says she's not seen enough help for the rebuilding of Lahaina and the recovery of her community's mental health. Going forward, the report states that questions linger about the adequacy of warning systems, evacuation planning, and the preparedness of communities for such fire events. Answers to those questions may be revealed in Phase 2 of the Attorney General Office's investigation, which is expected to be released later this year. Dan Grossman, Scripps News, Denver.
Hey there, Patriots. This is True Outlaw Patriot coming at you with another one. The news clip I just showed you, obviously you heard where it's coming from. It's coming from Denver, about some new information that's coming out since that report came out. I believe it was last week, of documentation of how and the timeline of the events that happened during the fire in Lahaina last August, where in my opinion, even though they keep trying to push the narrative that it was only about 100 people, in my opinion, I think it was a couple of thousand, including many children. But I'll digress on that for now. And you hear the way the woman who's upset that she says, you know, she's retired fire department worker or something to that effect, that she feels that nothing could have prepared everyone, especially first responders, for what happened, or before it happened, the way they could have got ready for it. I'm not trying to say that she's disingenuous. I'm not trying to knock her down. Obviously she was affected, just like many other people, thousands of other people. Okay. So when I say I call bullshit, I'm not calling bullshit on her. I'm calling bullshit on the fact of the people that were in charge. They knew that they could have did a better job. They could have saved thousands of lives. They could have jumped on this fire, but they didn't. And the reason why I say that is because of the next video clips that I'm going to show you. So again, I'm not trying to knock her. Okay. She's obviously, like I said, has suffered just as much as all the other innocent people have suffered. But it's also funny that in the news clip, it's saying that the Attorney General is putting her 2 cents in, and right away she's trying to skirt away from the fact, of course, of pointing the finger and putting blame on anyone, which again I call bullshit. Okay. And we'll get into that. But before I continue, I just want to thank all my new subscribers and all my subscribers here on YouTube and on Rumble. So don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, pass the channel around. And if you want to help support the channel, there's the link in my description to my Cash App and PayPal and my merch store, TrueOutlawPatriot.com. So with all that being said, the next two clips that I'm going to show you, it's going to piss off a lot of people, and rightly so. Okay, because ever since this fire happened in Maui, in Lahaina, it's been nothing but smoke and mirrors. It's been nothing but passing the buck, pointing fingers, not pointing fingers, accusing the residents that they could have did more on their part, but yet they weren't even warned. They weren't even helped. I mean, from the fire department to the police department to the mayor's office to the governor's office, it goes on and on and on. But they'd rather make it seem as if, you know what, even if we could have got prepared, it would have taken a coordinated effort from everyone involved, when people were actually left in the dark. Okay? And the mayor knew, the governor knew, Andaya knew, the police chief knew, the military knew, because for some odd reason they're involved in this also. Okay, with the head of I believe is the Army Corps of Engineers. So the guy that was in charge of the water. So many people knew, and so many people had the power, okay, to nip this in the butt, to at least to a point where they probably, in my opinion, could have evacuated everybody, in my opinion. Okay, but again, here we are. People are still suffering. It doesn't surprise me that she says that people are still suffering mentally. I mean, another thing that a lot of people are not talking about. There is a lot of talk of a lot of people committing suicide because they just can't cope and deal with it. And also the fact that a lot of people have left the island because the powers that be have made it so hard for them to get back on track, you know, to start rebuilding, okay, and being involved in all that. And in my opinion, and I've said it before in many of my videos, that's almost part of like a closing process to get closure, where you should let the survivors get involved, especially if they lost a lot of family and friends. Okay, let them get involved, get everybody in there. I mean, the report just came out, and this is something a lot of people should be upset about, and I knew it. I've been calling it from the get. There was nothing wrong with them letting people into the burn zone, but they kept saying that the ground was contaminated. Now the truth has come out. The ground is not contaminated. Okay? If you don't believe me, look it up. They're trying to keep it hush-hush, but it's out there. It's out on the news. It's not contaminated. It's bullshit. It was bullshit from day one. There was a reason why they didn't want anybody in the burn zone from the beginning, when they set up that whole black fence, when they started taking everything out as quickly as they could. The Army Corps of Engineers went in, did their job, did their dirt, for lack of a better term, left, and still left a mess anyway. So in my opinion, they were trying to cover up a crime scene. That's just the way I see it. Okay? They were trying to cover up a crime scene, whatever it was. There's rumors going around, people saying that there was weapons, energy weapons being used. Do I believe it? At this point, with the stuff that I've seen, the videos that I've seen that are being suppressed, yes. Anything in this day and age is possible. Anything. Okay? Especially when it comes to the military, in my opinion, where the government is funding them in the tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars, to do research to come up with new weapons that is being kept hush hush from society. God only knows what's in their possession. Okay? God only knows what weapons they possess. Now, I know it's going to piss off a lot of people. People are going to say they will never do that to Americans. Let me tell you something. If history has taught us anything, no government is innocent from trying to oppress their people. In some way, shape, or form, you will get the wrong people in government, and they will try to suppress the populace to hold on to control. But again, I'll digress on that. That's another topic. But anyway, let's get to the next video clip. I'll put my thoughts on it, and then the third one, and you guys are going to be very surprised and be very pissed, and rightly so. Here we go.
A new report from Hawaii's Attorney General raises questions about the mayor of Maui's response to the devastating wildfire last summer that killed more than 100 people. CBS's Jonathan Vigliotti has reported extensively on this disaster, and he's in Hawaii with the new details.
Tonight, the first comprehensive look at how the flames that ravaged Lahaina became the nation's deadliest wildfire in more than a century.
This is about never letting this happen again.
A nearly 400-page investigation raising new and troubling questions about Maui County Mayor Richard Bisson. As hurricane-force winds raged, igniting fires, several schools closed, and the state was preparing an emergency proclamation.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there real quick. Two things real quick. Where you heard the Attorney General said this is about never letting this happen again. They cut that. Before she said that, what she said was something to the effect of, this is not about who's to blame or pointing fingers or something like that. This is about never letting this happen again. Of course, when you have the Attorney General, who's in cahoots, in my opinion, with the powers that be in Hawaii, right away they're going to try to skirt away from saying, yeah, we do have proof that public officials weren't involved. They weren't there. They didn't care. They pushed everybody to the side. But this is not about them. This is not about that. This is about never letting this happen again. Well, in my opinion, then whose freaking fault was it? Okay, never mind about not letting this happen again. If anybody remembers, this happened a few years back. Not as bad, but they had a big fire a few years back, lest anybody forget. You would have thought that from that time to this time in August, last August, when it happened, they would have been better prepared. But in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, this was part of the plan to let it happen. Okay? And I'm just going to go back a little bit so everybody can hear what he said in case anybody, keeps saying that it's a conspiracy that, schools were closed. Let's listen to this. Pay attention. What happened here?
Extensively on this disaster, and he's in Hawaii with the new details.
Tonight, the first comprehensive look at how the flames that ravaged Lahaina became the nation's deadliest wildfire in more than a century.
This is about never letting this happen again.
A nearly 400-page investigation raising new and troubling questions about Maui County Mayor Richard Bisson. As hurricane-force winds raged, igniting fires, several schools closed, and
hear what he said? Several schools closed. Why would they throw that little tidbit in there? Why didn't they just come out? First of all, why didn't they just not even bring that up? Number one, because supposedly all schools were closed that day. Supposedly, from the day before, it was said that there was going to be no school that day. Anybody see? Anybody understand this? Like, why would they come out and say, and leave it up to CBS, of course, to come out and in my opinion, jump on their side, but for them to say several schools closed. But we were told that there was no schools open at all because the day before they had already made it known that there wasn't going to be any schools. Schools were not going to be open, I should say. So why would they say that day several schools closed? Was it because school was open and then they started closing a few down because they seen the potential threat that was coming? Think about it, people, but let's continue.
the state was preparing an emergency proclamation. At multiple times during the day, Mayor Bisson said declaring an emergency was not necessary.
Of course not.
At 3:15 p.m., as the fire grew in intensity, state officials tried to reach him, asking if he was in the Emergency Operations Center. They were told no.
Of course he wasn't. And now here's the thing. And a couple of my videos that I put out months ago, he was on camera saying that the roads to Lahaina were open, and this was about, if I remember correctly, about 4:30 in the afternoon or something like that. But he was saying that the fire wasn't as bad, that all roads leading to Lahaina were open. Okay? Meanwhile, this fire was already raging. It was spreading so fast. But he's over here, nowhere in sight. Okay, nowhere near the fire. Here's the proof. They're asking at 3:15. State officials tried to reach the mayor. No response. Asked if he was in the emergency operations center. No, he wasn't. They were told no. But at 4:30, an hour and 15 minutes later, he's on video, on camera, saying that everything's fine. All roads are open that lead to Lahaina. While the police chief was shutting down the roads on Front Street. Makes you wonder, people, huh? People are going to say, oh, that just sounds too much like a conspiracy. Really? Prove me wrong. I mean, how much more proof just with these little tidbits do you need? Let's continue.
He finally signed the emergency order at 8 p.m., hours after Lahaina burned down. Last August.
Yeah, he signed it because this is what they wanted. They wanted Lahaina to burn. They wanted Lahaina to burn. And if anybody is going to jump on my ass about it, that's fine, because the next video clip I'm going to show you, okay, it was just a matter of time, and I've been saying it for the longest, and I'm sorry that I have not put any content out to anybody. As a matter of fact, before I continue, I just want to thank a dear friend in Maui who sent me this shirt that I'm wearing now, okay, in support of what's going on. Here it is, Kaku Maui. Thank you so much. You know who you are. And again, I apologize for not putting out any content, but sometimes you have to wait until more information comes out. And I've been saying for months that more and more information was going to come out because this was wrong from the beginning. And the truth is going to keep coming out. More and more is going to keep coming out. But let's continue.
We confronted the mayor, who had admitted not calling Hawaii's defense director, Kenneth Hara, the entire day.
You are the highest ranking official here on the island. If the buck stops with your office, how is that possible?
Yeah, I can't speak to what or whose responsibility it was to communicate directly.
But you're the boss of this island, so yes, you
I
can
am.
speak to it.
I'm saying I can't say who was responsible for communicating with General Hara.
The Maui fire killed more than 100 people and destroyed thousands of homes and businesses.
Very little was done to prevent something like this from happening.
Do you think that complacency in this case has turned into negligence?
It crossed the border.
There you
It
go.
crossed the line.
And the Attorney General says this report is not meant to point fingers, but many people are now calling on the mayor for answers. We reached...
You heard what he just said, that the Attorney General says that this report is not meant to point fingers. Oh, yes, it is. And fingers should be pointed. People should get in trouble. I'll say it again. Why the federal government is not involved in this? Why people are not taking this case to the Supreme Court for people to be arrested? I mean, there is the level of corruption and negligence. Let me rephrase that. The level of negligence, okay, is not even borderline corruption. It's gone beyond the line. It's a scandal. It's a straight up scandal. It's scandalous. Okay? That fire should have never got... if the fire was going to get out of control, that's one thing. Fine. But the level of negligence... And I want to say that it was it was done on purpose. Okay? They could have evacuated everybody in that area if they felt that they couldn't stop the fire, but they could have evacuated. They could have put the sirens on. They could have had the military there. People think that it would have been too much of a coordinated effort. But what else did you have to do that day? What else was on the damn agenda for all these officials to get together, from the military to MEMA, M-E-M-A, the governor's office, the mayor's office, the police department, the fire department? What else was so freaking important that day that they cannot coordinate together and say, let's get everybody's ass off the island, away from this flame. If it's going to burn through Lahaina, we'll let it burn through. But let's hope and pray that not one person gets killed. But they didn't. Okay? They didn't. So, a finger's supposed to be pointed? Abso-fucking-lutely. People need to go to prison for what happened that day. Straight up, people need to go to prison. And not only do people need, and not only did they drop the ball on this, and people should go to prison, to rub more salt on this wound, this gigantic gaping wound that the people in Lahaina have to suffer with. Let's find out what happened. Let's find out what Andaya said while this fire was going. Okay, this is where I said that you're going to get pissed, and rightly so. Let's continue. Now, before I play this clip, okay, people, I just want to apologize. I noticed that every once in a while, for some odd reason, there's like a weird knocking sound in some of my videos. Believe you me when I tell you, I have no idea where that's coming from, because my computer and my laptop make no noise at all while I'm recording, and when I replay it, I kind of get these weird knocking sounds or humming sounds in the background, and the only thing I could think of is that it's embedded in the videos that are being put out. I may be wrong, I don't know, but I just find it very strange, because I've tried recording the same footage over and over again, and I'll still get that, and then I'll record something else, even if it's pertaining to the same story, and I don't hear that from different outlets. So I just want to apologize on that. But now we're going to play this video, okay? And this is the video where people, like I said, it's going to piss you off. And this is where I think that the federal government needs to get involved. But with the state of affairs that are going on, the federal government doesn't seem to really give a shit, in my opinion, of what's going on in Hawaii. Okay? And, you know, the innocent lives that were lost. But let's continue.
State Attorney General's office just released part 1 of its investigation into the Maui fires, which offers a minute-by-minute timeline of a disaster that claimed 101 lives. A closer look at the report also reveals a concerning lack of urgency by Maui County's Emergency Management Agency. It's been well documented that then MEMA Director
Anybody remember this man? Herman Andaya, remember him? After he made this statement, he resigned the very next day. They said due to health issues. What you're about to see, I highly doubt it was due to health issues. I'll let you be the judge of it. Here we go.
Herman Andaya was on Oahu for a conference on August 8th. That day, county firefighters and police had been responding to incidents in Upcountry and Lahaina. The report includes a series of disturbing text messages between Andaya and MEMA Administrative Assistant Gay Gabuat. At 3:53 p.m., Gabuat says, "LOL, poor chief looks so overwhelmed." Then adds, "Chief is wanting help from the military. Not sure of what." 10 minutes later, Andaya texts, "This is crazy. How is everyone holding up? Should I come home?" Gabuat responds, "PIOs are funny. There are 3 of them and they look scared and overwhelmed. I think they need a hug, LOL, to calm down." Over 5 hours later, another dismissive exchange. Andaya asks, "How's the other fires?" Gabuat says, "Still burning," to which Andaya responds, "Wow, LOL."
You believe that? Wow, LOL. You know, but yet they say that Bisson at 8 o'clock, 8:30, put out an emergency proclamation. The news report that I just showed you said, but by then, Lahaina had already burned down. This is 9:38 p.m. And Dai is asking this jagoff, who thinks all this is funny, what's going on. He said it's still burning, where to Andaya comes out and says, wow, LOL. But then the very next day, he resigns due to health issues. People, you can call me a fucking conspiracy theorist all you want. I've been saying it from the get. Okay? They could have gotten everybody. They could have saved lives. They could have did the right thing. This was coordinated. They wanted this to happen. They wanted Lahaina to burn down. Okay? Say whatever you want. Think whatever you want. It's up to you. I learned a long time ago, being born and raised in the Bronx, in the streets, man, you know, the ones that you think that are supposed to protect you, they're the ones that are actually conspiring against you. Now put that on a grand scale, meaning, i.e., government officials, political officials. Okay? They've made it so hard for people to get back to some kind of normalcy. People are committing suicide. People are leaving the island. Nobody really knows what's going on. Are some people getting help from what I'm told? Yes, some people are getting help. But look at, just by looking at this exchange of text messages, okay, where the Attorney General is doing the investigation. And then her answer is, this is not an investigation to point fingers. This is an investigation to make sure it doesn't happen again. Something tells me that it's not going to happen again. As a matter of fact, I'll take that back. Something tells me that the only way this is going to happen again is if the powers that be get stepped on enough where the people, you know, get the power back to rebuild, and they don't like it, and they'll wait patiently. Evil waits till they feel it's ready to strike. But if they don't rebuild Lahaina, I guarantee you this will never happen again, because they'll own it. They'll own Lahaina and say, well, now we're going to protect it. But let's continue.
At that time, Gabwat also informed him of a fire in Kihei, and Andaya says, you just keep making my day. Then just before 11 at night, by which time Lahaina was destroyed, James Barros of Haima told Andaya that Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke is very concerned, to which Andaya said, yes, this is really bad. I'm flying back tomorrow.
The underlying foundation of this report is not to place blame on anybody. This is about never letting this happen again.
See, there you go. From one bootlicker to the next. You're the freaking Attorney General. Your job is to be biased. Your job is to point the finger, okay, to the ones that are responsible. Because let's just say this fire never happened. Let's just say somebody owned a hotel in Lahaina, and I don't know, maybe it was a slow weekend where instead of 1,000 guests, there was only 500 guests. Okay, and a fire broke out in the basement, in the laundry department, or in the cafeteria, or just somewhere, and the people that were in charge were trying to put it out, but then one of them decided to just, go piss off and, go get drunk or go fall asleep, and then the fire, got out of control, and then it burned down the whole building, and those 500 guests died. Do you actually think that the Attorney General would make a report and then come out and say, this is not about pointing fingers, this is about making sure it doesn't happen again? Hell no. Hell no. The Attorney General will be out there looking to literally hang somebody. Okay? For what? For negligence. First and foremost, for negligence. For not doing their job. For letting it get out of hand. And not even the fact of letting it get out of hand. Just the fact of them uncovering those text messages, of the cold, callous messages that were exchanged by Andaya, who had the nerve to resign the next day and say, oh, it's due to health issues. No, if you ask me, He was in on it too. He did his part, and he got out the spotlight and said, now I just got to wait for my cut. I said it months ago. Everybody in charge that should have did something that didn't is because they have a stake in this claim. And I will not be surprised if Andaya has a stake in this claim. But let's finish this off.
And that is my focus and will continue to be my focus.
To organizations that want to study this further, to residents, whoever may want to learn from this event and move forward. We feel like it's organized in a fashion that you can use it to identify your own recommendations of what needs to happen.
Andaya resigned shortly after the fires, citing personal reasons. Phase 2 of the report is expected to provide...
Actually, that's bullshit. Not once did they say due to personal reasons. It was always the narrative that he resigned because of health issues. And that was the very next day. Not because of personal reasons. Let's not sugarcoat this shit. Let's use all the words that he used. And even if it was for personal reasons, why? Why didn't you resign the day before? Why the day of the fire were you at a conference somewhere else? What was that conference about? That's another thing they should look into. What conference was so important that you had to stay there, stay on the phone with your Jaguar buddy, making fun and making light of this situation, and then decide late that night, wow, this is getting out of hand, I'm going to have to fly back tomorrow. Really? You couldn't get up in the middle of whatever conference you was at and say, listen, people, I got to go. My hometown's on fire. People need me. No. Couldn't have happened like that. Why not? Inquiry minds want to know.
Independent analysis of the emergency response. Get a link to the report on our website, HawaiiNewsNow.com.
And there you have it, folks. Okay. And to tell you the truth, the guy in uniform that was talking, saying we're going to put the report up for everybody to see it, and then decide what should happen. I'm hoping that that's him speaking in code to let the people know that heads should roll, and the people in Lahaina, in Hawaii, and around the United States need to get together and demand justice, and demand that people get arrested, and a real investigation goes on and find out why they let this happen. I'm hoping that's the kind of message he's trying to put out. Because if he's trying to put out a message saying, using the same words but making it seem as if, you know what, I'm putting it out, but just in case, what do you think we should do for next time? No, that's not going to hold water, no pun intended. It's not, because the damage is done. The damage is done. They lied. They got caught in the lie. They got caught in the lie with the soil. They still haven't started rebuilding. They haven't let the victims, their families, come in and start rebuilding. They haven't done a deep-rooted investigation to find out where are all the missing children. So it's anybody's guess what's going to keep happening. But I will tell you this. Like I said before, the truth is going to keep coming out. Now, whoever's in charge, what they're going to do with that truth, that will be anybody's guess. But anyway, that's what I got for you. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, pass the channel around, give it a thumbs up. If you want to help support the channel, I'll leave a link in my description to my Cash App and PayPal and my merch store, TrueOutlawPatriot.com. And again, don't forget, keep praying for the people in Lahaina. Help them out. If there's a reputable way that you can find to do it, do it. I've been saying it, they're not out of this. I apologize again for not doing any reports on them. At least it's been about a month, but sometimes you got to wait a little bit, and all of a sudden all the news starts coming out all over again, because that's the way it's been with this whole situation. They put out little batches, they let it go, put out little batches, let it go, and it's like, okay, something's going to come out. Am I happy that so far this information came out? Yes. Am I disappointed at what the Attorney General, how she's treating it? Oh, big time. Big time. And in my opinion, And Daya and whoever that other person was that was texting him that can laugh about this, I can curse you out in so many ways. Okay? But I'm not going to do that. Because when that day comes and you're standing in front of God, I don't think God's going to find it amusing when you start using the term LOL. When he asks you, why'd you do that? So remember, people, stay vigilant, keep praying for each other, keep praying for this country and the people of Lahaina and Hawaii, and keep praying for the missing children. Peace.